Hi guys, welcome to day 2 as we count down to the release of my new book, In Grace and Stillness. If you don't know me, my name is Jane. I'm a life and leadership coach, a leader, an author, and I'm sharing on this page or wherever you're watching me from over the next few days some insights and background story into how my new book came about. The previous video, I talked about the cover and how, upside down. I talked about the cover and how it came about. And then today, I want to share with you the tools that I used to write this book. In case you may be wondering what tools, it's just, pen and paper or Microsoft Word. But don't worry, I'll give you a backstory on that. So now, let me just dive into it straight away. So actually, I'm going to start from the beginning now. In the preface of this book, I actually talked about how it all started, because this was all how it all started, me writing the book. Earlier this year, I thought to myself, okay, what am I going to do that is different, And what came to me straight away was my podcast, because I think about 3-4 years ago or more than that, a few years back, let's just say, I started a podcast, and then I stopped, like many things that I do, God help us all. But not many things, like 1 or 2 things that I do that, I just, it just takes a back burner, after a while. Anyway, I said to myself that, okay, I'm going to bring back my podcast. I think that's something I've been saying I want to bring back. Last year, I said I was going to come back with it. And then, poof, the year was gone, just like that. Okay, so I said, yeah, okay, I'll bring back the podcast, and, So that was that. There was nothing much. I didn't think much to it. Then after a while, I was during my quiet time, a thought just dropped to my mind that, okay, you want to bring by your podcast, but do you even know what you're going to talk about? So why don't you just write down like the topics you want to talk about? And the Spirit particularly told me that, why don't you write down what you are going through in this season? Because at that point, I was going through a season of stillness, So I said, oh yeah, actually that's the point. Me documenting my experience and, making a topic out of it and just, sharing it with people, which is kind of generally what I do. And immediately I got my laptop and I started typing. And the first one that came to me is actually the first chapter of this book, which is, this is uncomfortable, because I remember I was having a prayer. We will read all about it in the book, but it was during my prayer point, and I was sharing my prayer. It was during a prayer time with my prayer partner, and I was sharing with my prayer partner that, I'm going through a season of stillness, and it feels so uncomfortable, but and it was later on that day, I was thinking to myself, why does a moment of being still, like not doing anything more or less, feel uncomfortable? A moment for you to just be, a moment for you to just chill, feel uncomfortable. Anyway, that's by the way. So that was, So yeah, I started writing. Topics were just flowing, It was just flowing. And in fact, I started writing the topic. As I wrote the topic, I used Microsoft Word, just to say, because that's what we're talking about now. Before I digress, I used Microsoft Word. So I started typing on Microsoft Word the title. Oh, this is uncomfortable, because that was the most recent one that I think that came to me anyway. So I said, when I started typing what happened, like what you would read in the chapter when you read the book, I started writing that down, all this blah, blah, blah. I started typing everything down. And that was how I continued. I kept writing and writing and writing. I had to get ready for church. And then on the way to church, it was just flowing. The words were just flowing. And then before I knew, I wrote another chapter, and the chapters were just coming. The words were just flowing. And I just kept writing and writing. Like I said, on the way to the car, I was typing away. That was about an hour 45 minutes or 2 hours journey. I was typing away, tap, 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 and I came back on our way back from church again. I grabbed my laptop again. I continued typing. Came back home. I still carried on typing. It just continued like that until obviously I had to rest, sleep and relax. I had to stop at some point and then have sleep, relax, wake up the next day, did what I needed to do for the day. And then I carried my laptop again. I kept typing again. And until I felt, I think I'll stop here. And at this point, I think I had written 30 chapters. Yeah, I had written 30 chapters, but then there was more. So I kind of carried on a little bit more actually until 32. No, at this point I had written 29. I think I had written 29. And I knew that obviously whatever I'm going to be, the last chapter would be me kind of like encouraging my readers and just summarizing it all for them and just encouraging them. So I knew that what would be. But I had a few more in me, so I kept on writing. So I think I had about 32 chapters. But then after I started editing as well, there was even more that was coming to me. But that's just by the way. So I used Microsoft Word. So since we are talking about the tool, so Microsoft Word was what I used to type everything. And then I thought to myself after that, like, okay, how do I make this look okay, presentable? How do I, I don't know how to explain it. I thought to myself that I wonder if there is a software or something that you can use that would help you do this better, sort of a thing, arrange this. I just thought there must be something that writers use to write their books or whatever. So I Googled it, and the first one that came to me was Scrivener. So I said, oh, nice. Okay. I started using Scrivener. They had like roughly 2 months trial session that you can do, but it depends on how you use it. So if you use it too often, you only get like, I hope I remember, 30 days. But if you use it less, you can extend it. You can use it up to like 60 days. So for 2 months. So I did that instead. So I used the Scrivener. Obviously read the manuscript, read the how to use it. So it was very easy to follow. It was very easy to use after reading, how to use it. So I started using that. But then the 2 months, the 60 days expired and I had not finished, editing my book. So I was like, oh my God, so what do I do? That means I would have to buy it. But at that point, I was a bit low on cash at that point. So I thought, I wonder if there is another way. Anyway, I Googled, I can't remember what happened. I came to ask my husband that, this is what's happened. And so now I probably need to buy it and whatever. But then he asked me what it was, and I said it was. So he looked into it for me. So as we were looking into it, I went again to my laptop. I Googled something. I don't even know what I don't know. I just Googled something, and then this other software came about as well. Storyist. I said, oh, look, there's another one, Storyist, which I didn't look into before. Storyist is mainly for Mac. Apple products, MacBooks and stuff. So I said, oh, there's this one. So I said, oh, and it's got trial as well. So I said, oh, let me try this one as well then. And so, yeah, I got Stories as well. But I think with the trial, after the trial expired, I would have been able to get, buy it anyway. I was planning to buy it anyway after I'm done with the trial. So, but the big issue I had with Stories was that I read the how to use it, whatever, but I didn't understand it as opposed to Scrivener, which was very easy to follow. So I kept fiddling with it, but I didn't really understand. I didn't understand. I wasn't really getting it basically. So I went on YouTube and I couldn't find anyone to explain what it was. I just kept looking until I found this one person, and that was the only person that really talked through how to use this software. So I kept watching his video and following his video. And that was the only way I was able to understand how to use the stories. And I must tell you, I kept trying, but then when it came to certain things, I was struggling. So, I mean, I started using it. I was okay. And then I was editing and everything. But then when it came to the final things, it was not the easiest. For me personally, it was not the easiest to follow. But thankfully, I had this video that I kept going back to. I had a little break in between my writing so with that break, when I came back to it, I didn't understand what I was doing anymore. I didn't understand anything about it anymore. So I had to go back to that video again, that YouTube video, to talk through it. And even up until the time I had to like final edit, I was still kind of struggling with it. And it was kind of frustrating me a little bit, I must say, because but one thing I must say about this interface is that I struggled with the bullet points. I'll show you. I wanted this to be, because I have some reflection and journal prompts. This one here, every page, every chapter has a reflection and journal point. So I wanted it to be bullet points. But even if I copied it from Word document to put it on the thing, it just doesn't align the way I want it to align. And then I know the software itself had its own bullet points things, but their one too doesn't align properly. I don't know how they did it. I struggled with that so much, and it was just so frustrating that I gave up in the end. And I just said, you know what, I'll just not put any bullet point. And to be honest, I personally like it. I prefer it that way because it made it look much more cleaner. Because if there are bullet points, it would look a bit, for me personally, I think it's much better this way than having bullet points. It's just much, much cleaner to me. So so it was meant to happen, but that's the only thing I struggle with. However, I did manage, and I don't know how that happened. You would notice in some parts of the book, there was some form of, it wasn't ideally bullet point, but some form of, things like this one here. If something like this, I don't know if you can see that. I have to bring it close. This one here. Oh, this one here. So this is the trivial menu. So there is like some sort of bullet points. But what I noticed is that it works with shorter sentences than longer sentences. So I think that's the only thing. But you know what? It's fine. Yeah. So that was the only issue. But the more I kept using it towards the end, when I was using it quite a lot, because I had about, oh my God, how many drafts, how many editing? Oh, like 20. Even when I thought I was finished, I still had, that's the one. This is when I thought I was done. I had even more, like 20 drafts afterwards. With that, I got used to it. That I would say I became more comfortable with that, with the software in the end, because I had to do so many that I got used to it. I knew how it worked eventually, and I became more comfortable with it. So those are the tools I used. What else did I use? My laptop. So you might be thinking, where did you have a writing place? No, it was just my bedroom. It was mainly my bedroom and my laptop, my bed and my laptop. So if I were to advise you which one was better, to be honest, it just depends on which one you're comfortable with, to be honest. What I like about both ones is that, it's kind of automatically does the table. There's some things that it just automatically does for you, table of content. So for example, if you're uploading onto Kindle on Amazon interface, the KDP interface, it's got a template already set for you that you can just use, and you just download straight away. But with Word, I did use Word eventually, with some certain things, especially with especially with my ebook, I had to use Word. Yeah, you had to use Word for the ebook. So you can use Word as well. Eventually, when I tried using Word, especially after the my trial period had finished with the Scrivener, I did not understand it. I didn't understand how to do the table of contents. I struggled, but I eventually, in the end, this was right when I was about to publish my book and I was about to obviously do the ebook and things like that. I now knew how to do the table of contents because that was the one thing I struggled with. So what I would say is that you don't have to use any of the software. You can still use Microsoft Word and then just convert it to PDF when you want to upload it. However, there was a lot of, when it came to the format, the page format as well. There are tools, thankfully, to Amazon. They have the tools that can help you. When you go to the publishing page, they will tell you what to do basically. Even though we had to figure some things out ourselves with the help of my husband, but eventually it was eventually pretty straightforward. But yeah, because one thing that happened was that after I had done with the Scrivener, I put it back on Word and everything just scattered. Everything was just everywhere. And everything was just everywhere. So it was like I had to start rewriting, re-editing again. And then it was like, okay, how do we leave it in this for it to remain in this format? And it was eventually we were able to get the page, how the page and the paragraph, the index had to be, to be set. And I just copied and saved that. And I just maintained that for everything that I'm doing if I'm using Word. But you can use Microsoft Word as well. It's probably the easiest one to use, really. You just need to set the page depending on what format you want your book to be. If you are using Amazon, by the way, go on to their publishing page. It gives you all the direction of what you need to do, how to set the page and everything. So yeah, that's it, guys. I hope this has helped someone. And you may not think you need it right now, but save this because one day you're probably going to need it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.